2020 presidential hopeful, I almost giggle when I say that, Bill DeBlasio sparking new outrage after unveiling a criminal justice blueprint that would more than triple the number of teens released from city jails with no bail on charges as serious as armed robbery, assault, and burglary. These offenses, according to the Post, can involve using a deadly weapon or inflicting personal injury on the victim. So is this really a good idea? Here to debate is retired NYPD Lieutenant Dr. Darren Porcher and criminal defense attorney Philip Hamilton. Thank you, gentlemen, both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Philip, let me start with you. Is this criminal justice reform, or is he using that as a title to say, we're just going to let people off the hook?
It's not so much that he's letting people off the hook. You have to understand, at the end of the day in New York, judges are the ones who are vested with the power to either release a defendant or to set bail, right? All DeBlasio is doing in this situation is expanding some eligibility guidelines with respect to those defendants who may be eligible, not necessarily mandatorily sent there for supervised release.
So judges have more power now, more latitude to release kids, effectively, or young teenagers.
They have the same power that they always had. These guidelines at best are advisory. They are simply opening up eligibility for certain, teenage, generally, defendants to be able to, potentially get on supervised release as opposed to being sent to Rikers Island, which, as we know, is just a terror show right now.
Okay. Well, this is what the mayor has to say about it. I'll get you to respond, Darren.
So we're ensuring that there are real alternatives to incarceration, particularly for our youngest New Yorkers, who we need to focus on getting them on the right track. We need to support them. We need to make sure that they're being redeemed, not just locked up.
So, Darren, I mean, we're all about second chances. You don't want kids immediately being labeled one way or another, but is this a slippery slope?
I think it's a slippery slope, but one of the things that we're leaving out, how about the rights for the victims? Oftentimes, these people that are victims of crimes know the offenders, and Mayor de Blasio is putting that to the side, and he's focused on poll numbers that are in the toilet. The truth of the matter is, these communities are under siege. When someone is arrested, bail should be set. There should be a surety connected with that individual that's arrested. It can, in many ways, act as a deterrent. What this is going to do is this is going to up the numbers for the NYPD warrant squad to go out and catch people that are absconding as a result.
Philip, that's a good point. I mean, if there are no consequences, the victims look around and say, where is my justice?
Let's remember this when we talk about justice. Everybody that we're talking about pre-trial is presumed innocent until proven guilty, right? So if we accept that fact, let's look at the fact that right now we have Harvey Weinstein. He's walking out. He's an alleged serial rapist. When we talk about pre-trial detention, what we are talking about is basically putting innocent people, right, who are presumed innocent, in jail until and unless they are proven guilty. It should not be a situation based on fundamental fairness where you have some people who are able to pay to be able to get out and those that aren't. So when de Blasio was putting forth these guidelines, there's a lot of factors that are involved. There's factors involving fundamental fairness in terms of who's able to get out and who's not. There's factors involved in terms of, we know that he wants to ultimately close Rikers Island, which I think is a good thing. Rikers Island at this point is starting to look like one of those prisons. When we look at locked up abroad, it's starting to be comparable to something along those lines. It's not a good place for a lot of these teenagers to be, and to the extent that they're going to be coming out, you don't want them coming out from a system that has made them worse, particularly when they're presumed innocent.
Darren, if you're looking at the city, all neighborhoods of the city, do you get a safer city with this approach vis-a-vis what we maybe saw under Mayor Giuliani?
I think the city is going in the wrong direction. I was just in San Francisco last month. Horrid conditions. The quality of life is in the toilet. And I think that's the direction that Mayor de Blasio is pushing, is because he sees himself as a progressive, and that's the agenda that he wants to tout in his presidential campaign. Unfortunately, that's not where we are. We need someone that's going to stand up for New Yorkers and protect us as citizens. So when we take in consideration victims' rights, what message do we send to a victim that is the victim of a crime, and they see that same offender come out of jail 24 hours later and then back on the same block?
We have to remember that
we got to leave it right there. Unfortunately, they're yelling in my ear. But Philip, Darren, two smart dudes. We appreciate you being on the program.